Hello and welcome. Today is Monday, September 16th, and you are listening to the Newsmax Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Kay Smythe, clocking in on behalf of Tony Marino today, who is out on vacation. And okay, guys, I have a confession for you today, and you can be mad at me if you like, but I tried to not watch the news this weekend. I know, shock and horror, but I tried. And, well, I failed. Now, most of my news consumption this weekend was initially focused on this big tropical cyclone heading for the East Coast. For those of you who maybe don't know, I am a weather nerd. Yes, you heard me correctly, weather nerd. I mean, technically, I am an all forms of earth sciences nerd, but storms are really top of mind for me today. So I figured I'd use my opener here to talk about some extreme weather hitting the US, but let's be honest, you all know how to look outside at the sky, and you all know how to check your local weather forecasts, which I recommend everyone does before leaving the house, even if it's a hot, lovely, clear day. Anyway, instead I want to talk about a much bigger metaphorical storm hitting America. Yet another assassination attempt against presidential candidate and former president Donald J. Trump. Let's let Congressman Michael Waltz describe what happened this weekend. Here he is talking to Newsmax's Todd Starnes on Sunday.
I want to bring in our first of many very special guests this evening. Welcome Congressman Mike Waltz to the program. Congressman, thank you for joining us as we go through this breaking news tonight.
Yeah, this is just incredible. 2 assassination attempts in 2 months. I'm a member of the Assassination Task Force. We were just briefed on the failures of July 13th by the Secret Service. Basic standard operating procedures like full coordination with local law enforcement that didn't happen, having everyone on the same communications channels that didn't happen. But importantly, we were briefed that President Trump was now receiving the same level of protection as Biden and as Kamala Harris, who are sitting president and vice president. But yet I'm already hearing from agents that clearly wasn't the case. I do want to commend the heroism of the advance agent that saw danger and took decisive action to take this gunman down. And I also want to commend our Florida sheriffs, the service, and the FBI, who immediately, in a transparent fashion, told the public and had a press conference about what they know when they know it, unlike what happened after July 13th, when we went darn near a week without hearing anything from federal law enforcement. But clearly, we have a very heightened and dangerous threat posture. We have Iran trying to kill President Trump. We have radical individuals here domestically trying to kill President Trump. I have real questions about whether he's receiving the level of protection commensurate with that threat. I think, but my main message tonight is to the left: stop with your dangerous rhetoric. Stop calling President Trump the next Hitler, the next dictator, or saying you have to save democracy by any means necessary. Clearly, some deranged individuals are listening to elected leaders on the left, to the media, and others who are spewing this nonsense, radicalizing people. And now you have multiple assassination attempts, and you have one American dead as a result of it on July 13th.
And Congressman, we're also, as you and I are chatting here, we're looking at some images that were released from the Sheriff's Department just a little while ago that showed some of the evidence that was left behind at the scene. An AK-style rifle, 2 backpacks, and a GoPro. The thinking there is that this guy was going to try and film whatever he was plotting to do. And again, I know there's a lot of speculation. And folks, let me warn you in advance here. We're not going to be naming names, or we're not going to be showing you photos that might be circulating on social media right now until Newsmax can actually confirm that this is the individual. But again, Congressman, my concern as I was listening to the press briefing, which I thought they did a great job sharing the information they had, was the fact that President Trump did not have an elevated level of protection 2 months and 2 days after his head was nearly blown off.
Yeah, and again, we were literally just this past Thursday, the task force was briefed that he would have the same level as the current sitting president. And I just don't believe that to be the case here, or you would have had that perimeter fully secured. So we have a lot of questions in that regard. And to the point on the GoPro, that's the thing that jumps out to me. Clearly, this individual wanted to propagandize, wanted to get this out there of taking a shot at the president of the United States. Clearly, he was prepared for an extended firefight with ceramic plates in which would serve to protect him in a body armor type fashion in those backpacks. And it's this rhetoric, this propaganda that's going on. Heck, you just had, if we remember, Alexander Vindman, who testified against President Trump. His wife just posted online, no ears were harmed, continue with your Sunday, this kind of sarcastic shoulder shrug. By the way, her brother-in-law is running for Congress as a Democrat in Virginia.
Sickening.
So I'm calling upon people to stop. If you care about democracy, let the voters decide and stop with this dangerous rhetoric. You're literally getting people killed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Congressman. And I did see Mrs. Vindman's tweet. It is sickening, and shame on her. And then she's doubling down on that rhetoric, which we've just got to stop. Look, Congressman, I want to get your take on this. I know that you guys are in the throes of debating a continuing resolution. We heard from Senator Richard Blumenthal just a few days ago talking about the information they got surrounding the Secret Service's actions in Butler County, and said it was appalling and that the American people were going to be stunned. Now, look, we don't know what that is. Hopefully we will find out. But here's what I want to recommend. I just say shut it all down. We got to shut down the government, shut it all down until we can figure out what's going on here. 2 times they've tried to take out President Trump. And I don't believe in coincidences. I don't think these are just random things here. We need answers. And if that means shutting down the government to get those answers, I say let's do it. What say you?
Well, I think we should defund certain aspects of it, particularly the parts like the special counsel that has just been wasting millions going after, a document dispute as it pertains to the Espionage Act versus the president's right to keep documents that he wants. However, if you just go to full shutdown, you're going to have military families not getting paid, border agents not getting paid, Secret Service agents are on the front lines right now against this nonsense, not getting paid. Keep in mind, you then put the power in the hands of Biden in determining who's an essential employee and who's not, and that gives me real pause too. So I'm a Green Beret. I'm for precision strikes rather than carpet bombing. But I take your point. Enough is enough. And we have to get to the bottom of what the hell is going on. That's why the speaker set up this task force to basically look over the shoulder of the investigators. Secret Service has been forthcoming about their failures. That's what Senator Blumenthal is talking about. If we received the same brief, I about fell out of my chair too when it came to those failures. FBI, on the other hand, has been very quiet in terms of Crooks, the shooter on July 13th's motives, and that's completely unacceptable. So I think we have to take a scalpel rather than a sledgehammer here to what's going on with the deep state.
Well, I think you and I may have to disagree on that one, Congressman, because I think the American people are just fed up. And I think they deserve to know, were these 2 random guys, 2 randos out there, two wackadoodles, or was there something else going on? And we need to know, was this gross misconduct or gross incompetence on the part of these government agencies, or was something else going on? I want to play some audio here. I think we're in violent agreement,
but let's take the paycheck of the leadership, not of the soldiers, not of the agents out there on the front line, because those are the people that wouldn't get paid. So I think we're in violent agreement of what we need to get to.
Fair enough. I want to play some audio here from the press conference talking about exactly how far away the gunman was from President Trump. Let's watch this together, Congressman.
How far away was the president? How far away was Donald Trump when this gentleman was caught and stopped?
So
Probably between 300 and 500 yards. But with a rifle and a scope like that, that's not a long distance.
All right, not a long distance at all there, Congressman. I mean, again, there but for the grace of God.
Right. Yeah, and if President Trump had the same level of detail as a current president, which again is what we were briefed just last week, you would have had plainclothes officers around that perimeter. You would have had much more coordination with local law enforcement. The Florida sheriff, the Palm Beach sheriff, went on to say that, hey, when President Trump was a sitting president, we would have had that entire course locked down. So I'm pushing the service, and I think this task force needs to push the service. You need to make the level of protection commensurate with the threat. We haven't even gotten into what the Iranians are trying to do right now with their intelligence operatives, because much of it is classified. But I can tell you those are ongoing threat streams and assassination plots. And you have heard nothing from the Biden administration, no consequences from Iran, nothing in terms of an enhanced posture, no consequences on that regime as they're trying to kill a leading presidential candidate. You want to talk about election interference? That is the ultimate election interference, taking out President Trump, who they know will put maximum pressure back on the Ayatollahs. So there is so much to get to the bottom of. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Congressman, real quick here. What is your message to Kamala Harris and Tim Waltz? I mean, they're the ones that are out there saying that Trump is a threat to democracy. Maxine Waters just several years back saying get in the faces of the Trump supporters, absolutely harass them. You know, this has been going on since before the 2016 presidential election, this demonization of Trump supporters and this idea that Donald Trump is some sort of a soulless monster who has to be put down. This kind of rhetoric is coming straight from the Democrat Party and its leadership. What is your message to them tonight? Stop it.
Knock it off. And you have blood on your hands. They have Corey Compatore, the firefighter that was killed in Butler, Pennsylvania. His blood is on their hands. And President Trump said it during the debate just last week. He looked over and said, what you're saying about me almost got my head blown off on national television. So we've got to continue to call out the hypocrisy. And keep in mind, the ranking Democrat on the Jan 6 committee introduced a bill to strip President Trump of all Secret Service protection. I just don't think they would actually mind. I really don't. If something horrible happened to him, they have convinced themselves that the ends justify the means, and by any means necessary, he has to be stopped. That's the real danger to democracy, is this propaganda that they're spewing, and that clearly people are being radicalized by to do this type of thing.
Okay, let's stick with Todd here, Todd Starnes. And I want to go over to his interview with former New York Police Department Commissioner Bernie Kerik and his reaction to all this and how law enforcement is dealing with yet another assassination attempt against Donald Trump. I can't believe we're still in this storm, guys. Anyway, let's let Mr. Kerik take it from here.
Let's bring in former New York City Police Commissioner Bernie Kerik. Bernie, let's talk about law enforcement response here. You had everybody at that press conference today, and I want to get your take on so far the investigation into all of this.
I think the first thing I want to do is I want to, give kudos to the Palm Beach Sheriff's Department, Rick Bradshaw, and, their ability to get this guy. We had a witness, I understand, that took a photo of the car and the plate. Bradshaw's people got it out to his surveillance teams, his plate readers. The plate readers picked it up, got it to a helicopter. They identified the car and stopped the guy and took him into custody. The work was phenomenal, but there's a major problem, Todd. This guy made it to the outer ring of the president. He should have never made it there in the first place. And I think an investigation has to be conducted. And at this point, I don't trust the Secret Service to do that investigation. We actually, in the first assassination attempt, you had the guy responsible for the day-to-day operations of Secret Service on the day the assassination attempt was made, conducting the investigation. That shouldn't be. Eric Prince made a recommendation about an hour or so ago. The Governor DeSantis should do that investigation. I think Governor DeSantis should do the investigation in this and otherwise. And also, I think the governor's office should do an assessment, an overall assessment of the security for the president while he's in Florida. They could do it in conjunction with the Secret Service. But for somebody to make it to that outer ring, set up shop on a fence line, and wait for the president in hiding is kind of crazy. He should have never got there in the first place.
Yeah, that was the surprising part of the press conference. You had the sheriff saying, well, he was not afforded the full security detail because he's not the sitting president of the United States. But you've got the nation of Iran that's dispatched assassins. They want to take out Trump. And 2 months and 2 days ago, President Trump almost had his head blown off in Butler County. And we're not giving him more security resources?
You know, and here's the thing, and this goes back to what Ambassador Grinnell just said. The sheriff called it out because, you know, he rightfully so called it out. This is ludicrous for the White House today, for Harris and Biden today, not to call direct Secret Service. You provide the coverage necessary to keep Donald Trump alive. This is the second attempt in 2 months. This has never happened in the history of our country, ever. And it's going to happen again if they don't afford him the appropriate security. I think at some point, President Trump has to consider augmenting his Secret Service detail with Tier 1 operators, soft operators, Special Operations Forces type operators that's going to augment the U.S. Secret Service because they're either incompetent, understaffed. I don't know what their problem is and why they're not doing the job they should be doing. But somebody's got to take a serious look at it.
Okay, we are going to wrap things up today with a brief, but actually a pretty deep dive into Trump's opponent. Some of you may not have heard of her. I listened to this next clip from Sunday Agenda and overall Newsmax legend, Lidia Curanaj, this morning, and I thought, you know what, Lidia, once again, well said, very well said. I love using her clips when I get to fill in, because she just says it better than I ever could, than I think a lot of people could. So let's listen to what else is going on in this storm, okay? Because it's never just rain, it's never just wind, it's never just tornadoes. It all comes all at once. So let's not get distracted. Let's look at all forms of this metaphorical weather, guys.
Last week, right here at this desk, at this exact time, I said Trump would expose Kamala like he did to Joe Biden during the debate as being unfit to be president. And guess what? He did. When Kamala is unrehearsed, without a teleprompter, without her overly exuberant, stolen valor support person by her side, Kamala is a vegetable in a pantsuit. They're trying to portray her as a Hillary Clinton meets Barack Obama. But here's Kamala in her first solo interview with a local Philadelphia news reporter when she was asked what she had to say to Trump supporters.
How do you speak to his voters, or maybe people who just share his values but are open to something else?
Based on experience and a lived experience, no. In my heart, I know. In my soul, I know that the vast majority of us as Americans have so much more in common than what separates us. And I also believe that I am accurate in knowing that most Americans want a leader who brings us together as Americans.
Say what? I mean, did she really even say anything that anyone could understand there? This is why I was disgusted with the multiple Kamalas that happened during that debate that were not fact-checked by her cohorts at ABC News. Instead, they fact-checked President Trump even when he was telling the truth.
Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice President Harris,
the FBI they were defrauding statements.
You saw Kamala there shaking her head. Meantime, the DOJ came out with a report saying exactly what President Trump just said, that crime nationwide is sky high. When you really dissect, right, what happened at the debate, here's what it all boils down to. Trump is a human being, and Kamala is the consummate politician. Trump thoughtfully and truthfully, he tried to answer every single question. You could see he was laser focused, really trying to think exactly how to answer the question. Meantime, you saw Kamala, right? She didn't answer a single question. She spoke in platitudes. They asked her about her stance on abortion. She didn't answer. They said about her economy. She really didn't answer. And she did a great job executing a tried and true debate strategy. Never answer the question and then distract your opponent with a vicious gut punch lie in order to elicit an emotional response like she did when she said people are leaving his rallies. Meantime, she's bussing in people for her rallies. But guess what? Voters, they didn't buy her BS, including the coveted independent voter. Take a listen to these two voters on CBS News.
She just basically repeated everything that Biden has said in the past.
What were your thoughts? She made, Donald Trump made a strong closing statement by saying, why didn't they do all the things that she's proposing during the 3.5 years that they've been in office? And Biden did this entire moderate stance back in 2020, and she's trying to do it again in 2024. But she didn't talk about her policy changes between 2020 and 2024. Her whole centrist, moderate stance is just a facade.
Oh, my. They really hit the nail on the head. And did you see that black gentleman nodding his head in agreement? Mm-hmm. Kamala continues to tell the same lies she told during the debate, like the one where Goldman Sachs supposedly said that her economic policy is better than Trump's. Here's Kamala at a recent rally.
Goldman Sachs says my plan would grow our economy and his plan would shrink it.
All right. But then Kamala got kamikazed by the CEO of Goldman Sachs himself. Here he is being asked about Kamala's tall tale on CNBC.
The difference between the sets of policies that they put forward was about 0.2%. Okay, so economy grows. Okay, if you took these particular sets of policies they looked at, and by the way, we have no idea whether these policies, these things that are talked about, will ultimately be implemented. What was the growth impact? The differential was 0.2%. So, you know, I think our clients are trying to look at what's going on from a policy perspective and make judgments. I think this blew up into something that's bigger than what it was intended to be.
Of course, they made it bigger than what it was intended to be. Her whole campaign is bigger than what it is. I mean, it's a fraud. How are you going to blame Trump for everything wrong in the world when Democrats have been controlling the White House for the 12 of the last 16 years? And on the same note, you claim that you want to turn the page forward, but you're in office now, Kamala, taking the country backwards.
Look, we don't have enough housing in America. We have a housing supply shortage. And what that means, in particular for so many younger Americans, the American dream is elusive. It's just actually not attainable.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you made it unattainable. Does she think we're this stupid? You did this, Kamala. Yours and Biden's economic policies, from restricting fossil fuel production to printing money, that's what caused the cost of living to skyrocket, for people not to be able to buy a home in 40 cities now. If you make $125,000 a year, that's not even middle class. It's no wonder that less than 1% of Americans now can even afford to buy a home.
When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle class kid.
And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard.
Do you see that? She just says the same thing over and over again. I'm a middle class kid, and coming up, we're going to talk about it more. She talks about people mowing their lawns. I mean, just like her performance at the debate, everything about Kamala is as phony as her laugh, rehearsed as if this was some kind of big Hollywood production, which it basically is. That's why it is utterly ridiculous to me that Democrats think an endorsement by Taylor Swift is some kind of big deal. Oh, congratulations, Kamala. Taylor Swift is a woman who made a career out of writing songs and singing those very songs about horrendous choices that she's made in life, and she's made another one. I mean, if you're choosing the leader of the free world based off of Swift's judgment, the same girl who thought John Mayer was husband material, then as Swift herself sang in the song Anti-Hero, it's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. Bottom line, we all have to stop allowing our emotions to dictate our common sensibilities. Kamala, she's a liar. She has lied over and over on that debate stage. She's done it in numerous rallies, you name it, and she's getting zero blowback from the media. That's what's frightening. But finally, the New York Times had to fact-check Kamala when she denied wanting to use taxpayer funds for illegals to become transgender. That lie was just one of many that's now been debunked. I bet at this point, Kamala can't even keep straight all of her lies, but we can. That's why it's important to get your news from places like Newsmax. Because remember, propaganda isn't just about creating fake news. It's also about hiding the real news. It's why when I've been asked who won the debate, I say, without a doubt, it's America who lost. Because without a free and fair press, we all end up losing.
Now, as most of you know, the second attempt against Donald Trump's life came just days after that quote-unquote debate. Sorry, I'm literally doing air quotes, even though I know you can't see me. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to the actual Free Press today and listening to the Newsmax Daily podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with Tony Marino. The date is Monday, September 16th, and I've been your host, Kay Smythe. Have a beautiful rest of your day, everyone, and God bless.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Hey, it's Jerry Callahan from The Callahan Show. You can listen to us every day. We react to the latest news, politics, sports, and all the madness in the world. I'll give you my opinion with a little edge, a little attitude. I'm an unapologetic right-winger, trapped behind enemy lines in deep blue Boston, so I'm used to taking on the mainstream media mob. You can hear us anywhere you get your podcast, or you can listen every day at newsmax.com/listen.
It's our America. We conquered it. We built it. Great values like honesty and fairness. Great courage. A great nation needs a free press. Newsmax is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to Newsmax when they really need to know. They watch Newsmax TV at home. On the free Newsmax app, they go to newsmax.com. Start today. Newsmax is real news for real.